already. Oh, okay. I know that. Okay. Then just because the COVID, I guess, the interaction of in between scientists and founders became slower and disconnected. Then last year, this proposal resubmitted to the plenary. We started to look at the CIA. What's behind this title? I guess not only our generation, probably from my parents' generation, the environment protection become a issue human being has to focus on. I guess already have a century. Remember last year, right? Last year was the Stockholm plus 50. That means human already recognized the environmental problem over 50 years. Now we redo this. Why we redo this? There were a lot of studies working on this environmental protections, and we did some work. However, we do still have more challenges. Some of them because we are still short of enough knowledge to work out the comprehensive peace building. Others may caused by problems of some methods. So even science have been challenged. So we revisit this subject, and we hope this is a good beginning. Scoping is very helpful to have a really healthy CRA for Belmont Forum. For CRA, the Collaborative Research Action and the Belmont Forum, I will leave the introduction to Brian. Is from Secretariat and our major coordinator. Thank you very much. Please enjoy the scoping meeting.
All right. Thank you, Professor Chen. Yeah, Juan. So thank you very much for the introduction and for welcoming me here to Academia Sinica. Next slide. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Belmont Forum and the way that we do multilateral engagements and essentially what the Belmont Forum is. Next. The Belmont Forum is driven by one central challenge: to support international transdisciplinary research, providing knowledge for understanding, mitigating, and adapting to global environmental change. Because this is an international transdisciplinary research, there are several rules and requirements that we have for people to engage in the Belmont Forum. And this is essentially our mission and our vision as we bring all the members around the world to this central goal. Next. We've been around this place in this international climate change internet research space for over 10 years, and we funded over 177 projects and over 23 CRAs. In the past, we've had many CRAs, or what we call CRAs, funding opportunities related to fresh waters, security, pathways to sustainability, looking at SDGs. As time goes on, these projects and these funding opportunities become larger and more global. So we look into migration and mobility, one of our first social sciences heavy proposal, leading into climate, environment, and health. And then now we have more broader ones, such as Amazon Tropical Forest, which is launching next year, and Africa Regional Call. Next. Again, because we're guided by the Belmont Forum Challenge to support international transdisciplinary research, as a whole, our membership decided that in order to meet these requirements, we have to define what transdisciplinary is and what international means, and which means multilateral, right? And so we have our requirements for all researchers is to make sure that there are 3 types of people to define transdisciplinary. We need a natural scientist, a social scientist, and a non-academic stakeholder. This is how Belmont Forum defines transdisciplinary. Next, when it comes to countries, we must have multilateral cooperation, multi being 3 or more, so 3 countries. Again, multi also plays a role in terms of eligibility for the Belmont Forum organizations, which means 3 or more. Oh, battery. That's okay. Next. And the reason why we want to bring researchers from all across the spectrum, from natural sciences to social sciences to non-academic stakeholders, is because we want science to go into action, science to action. That is what drives the central core of all the Belmont Forum funding calls. Next. Next, I'm going to go into the structure of the Belmont Forum, how we come together, and how you as all researchers can engage in this transdisciplinary, co-designed, co-developed, and co-implemented process. Next. So currently, the Belmont Forum has around 32 members, funding agencies from all around the world, representing over 55 countries. And in fact, we also have partners with over 150 resource organizations. And in doing so, next, this supports over 120 countries, researchers from 120 countries, mostly in low and middle income countries. Next. And the way this funding process works is we have several stages where it's called funding opportunities we call collaborative research actions. The way an idea comes about, or way a funding call comes about, is that some member has to propose an idea or some partner has to propose an idea. We call the ideation stage. Next, when the ideation comes, oh, sorry, go back. Afterwards, when the idea is formed, it is brought forth to the membership. The members vote, goes into the scoping phase. They vote, then it's confirmed into a funding call, then it gets launched. And this whole process takes about 6 to 7 years. Yep. What's unique about the Belmont Forum process is that it's one single proposal. So one team can consist of 3 different PIs with 3 different countries, and they put in one proposal into this one peer review process. And the way this works is that each funding organization has its own annex that describes the rules and methods of engagement. And this one proposal, all 3 annexes come together to support one proposal. I'll explain this more in the next slide. Next. So the way an idea or a call comes forth is 3 members or 3 funders of the Belmont Forum put an annex together and say, hey, we have an idea. Let's do something on, for example, environmental peace building. They bring on more partners to produce a single call. Next. Yep. And they bring on more partners to bring a single call. Next. Researchers find this call and they form a team of 3 different members from each country, country A, country B, country C. Afterwards, they can bring on more people if they wish. They work together to produce one call, or one single proposal. This single proposal goes into one peer review process. And from this peer review process, if this proposal is successful, it will be funded. Each country will fund its own researcher, either fund, in-kind support, or etc. Today's session, this hybrid session that we have today, scoping process, is for environmental peace building. So where are we in this CRA timeline? Last year, this environmental peace building was presented towards the Belmont Forum group, the plenary. We are currently at the scoping and the call text refinement stage. What that means is we want to hear from researchers. We also want to hear from funders. What are the key issues in environmental peace building? Just as what Professor Chen said, want to hear from the researchers, want to hear from the funders. What are the key issues? So that we as funders know what are the themes to create. So in other words, we're trying to identify key research gaps. We're also trying to identify the need in the community. We also want to make sure and I figured out who are the group of program funders or coordinators that are going to be part of this funding call. And are they going to provide monetary support or are they going to provide in-kind support? Not only that, we also need to figure out as the funding organization, are we going to provide workshops? Are we going to provide training for the research community? And how far is this going to go? Yeah. So that's a short Belmont Forum spiel that I have for all of you today. If you'd like to keep in touch and figure out when we have our activities, these are the QR codes that will bring you to all our social media web pages, where we usually announce future workshops, future scoping activities, and more. And I think with that, my time is up. We're going to invite to the stage, or the virtual stage, Professor Dalia Sigman.
Right. Thank you, Brian. I hope you can hear me well, all of you, and you can see my slide. Right. I apologize for not being able to join you in person, but thank you everyone for this opportunity to engage with this scoping session, at least virtually. And today I'm speaking from Hiroshima University in Japan, and I'd like to share with you some of the research activities that we've been doing that could contribute to a better understanding of environmental peace building, specifically in integrating positive peace and environmental sustainability. Okay, so what is the NERPS, or the Network for Education and Research on Peace and Sustainability? NERPS is based at Hiroshima University. It's an international network of educators, researchers, and practitioners collaborating towards the advancement of peaceful and sustainable societies amidst global challenges. We engage with a wide range of stakeholders to identify research priorities and emerging issues related to peace and sustainability, and as well as contributing to implementing innovative transdisciplinary education and research projects. One of the projects that we have aim to answer the question of how does the relationship between positive peace and environmental sustainability manifest in conflict-affected societies that are also vulnerable to environmental change, like climate change. The actual project name is Sustainable Peace and Peaceful Sustainability in Conflict-Affected Societies. It's a transdisciplinary research project because we also collaborated with non-academic collaborators as part of this project. And the rationale behind this project is to combine positive peace and environmental sustainability because our rationale is that this will help reveal the intersecting issues, because peace is not just the absence of conflict, as we know, but also the presence of conditions that enable human societies to flourish. So what do we know so far about these intersections that could also be useful in informing environmental peace building? So far, studies on war and violence dominate peace research, and there's limited interaction with studies focusing on processes and conditions of peace. Despite peace and conflict studies, scholars of peace and conflict studies understanding that peace is a broad concept. Despite that understanding, there's very limited interaction with studies focusing on these processes. And earlier studies on the peace-environment nexus also tended to focus on the absence of violent conflict and interstate environmental cooperation. Although, of course, more recently, there are more studies on bottom-up environmental peace-building activities. There's still a need to focus on this grassroots level, bottom-up, community level types of environmental peace-building activities. And finally, studies that consider climate change are more inclined to investigate its link to conflict rather than the peaceful conditions that societies maintain despite climate vulnerabilities. As we know, there are some societies that are exposed to climate change and its impacts, but still maintain peaceful relations, and that's something we can further understand in our research activities. Okay, We've done both quantitative and qualitative methodologies for our research project, and this is so the findings that I listed in the slide that you're seeing right now are some of the results of our quantitative analysis. So in analyzing positive peace and environmental performance indices of different countries, reveal that the higher the environmental performance, the higher the level of peacefulness. Specifically, these countries exhibit high levels of positive peace outcomes. Of course, it's not surprising the correlation between these two, but what's interesting here is that they also exhibit high levels of positive peace outcomes. Environmental performance, especially air quality, safe sanitation, and safe drinking water is more closely associated with positive peace, particularly concerning equitable distribution of resources and high levels of human capital than negative peace, specifically with a degree of militarization. Another interesting finding is that some low-income countries score high in both negative peace and environmental sustainability, but they often fall short in achieving positive peace outcomes. And for us, one potential explanation for this is that countries face economic challenges, not because of violent conflict or environmental degradation per se, but because of conditions that prevent their people to reach their full potential. So we suggest that these findings confirm the limitations of negative peace as a framework in accommodating environmental considerations, but at the same time showing that positive peace as a framework offers a more suitable conceptualization for environmental peace building. The results of our study are published in some of academic journals and also in some online blog posts. In addition to our quantitative analysis of the indices that we have selected, we also conducted case studies to provide to substantiate the numbers that we have uncovered. And we've done studies in Afghanistan, fieldwork in Afghanistan, Nepal, and the Philippines. And based on those studies, some of their findings show that climate-induced security concerns do not always manifest violently, especially if we look at different levels. And state-society relations contextualize peace and environmental issues. So how communities, how peace and sustainability issues are manifested especially at the local communities, really vary depending on if there's a presence of the government in those areas. So the state-society relations help us understand how peace and environmental issues are being experienced by the local communities. And for this 3 case studies, we focus on water-related issues. And we have also seen how water-related security issues manifest differently across levels. It will manifest differently, of course, at the national level. It might have more political implications, but at the local level, it might have something to do with their livelihoods, for example. I think moving forward, although we have completed that research project, we recognize that there's still a lot to be understood when it comes to the challenges and prospects of environmental peace building. And we agree with the aim of the Belmont Forum that a transdisciplinary approach is really needed. Especially from our perspective, we have seen the value of that transdisciplinary approach in our research projects. And one of the projects that we're planning to do is this mapping of environmental peace building, combining web scraping and crowdsourcing as methodologies, and then resulting in an environmental peace building database. And that the database will be presented as an online atlas available to researchers working on different aspects of environmental peace building. And it will also be relevant to not just peace and conflict studies, but also area studies, anthropology, geography, sustainability, science, etc. And it will also cover different types of natural resources, not just water, as we have focused before, but also land, energy, fisheries, etc. And the online atlas will also be available to practitioners, again, the transdisciplinary approach, to policymakers and other stakeholders who are interested in supporting environmental peace building projects. What you see on the slide here, especially the image on the right, is the prototype of the atlas. And the plan is to update this annually. And accompanying that annual update is an annual report that will provide the key trends globally, but also highlight some specific case studies from around the world. That's it for our contribution. Hopefully, what I've presented will provide some insights on how we can move forward to advancing environmental peace building. The Network for Education and Research on Peace and Sustainability has been trying to do this since 2018 when we first started. And we're very happy that there's really a great interest of different peace and sustainability scholars. And we can collaborate with them in different projects, including environmental peace building. We have a conference coming up from March 6 to 9 here at Hiroshima University. And we expect already several sessions dedicated to environmental peace building. And the deadline for this, if you're interested, is November 15, a few days from now, 2 weeks from now. And I hope that this is just one of the platforms for us to continue collaborating on this timely and very important topic. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Dahlia. For the participants online and the people in the room, I just want to make a quick comment. Please, if you have questions, put them into the chat. After we have our next speaker present, we will do a Q&A session, and we will definitely bring you back on. How's that? Perfect.
Yes.
All right. So our next speaker is Professor Tobias Ida from Murdoch University. And he will present to us his research and his work in Australia and his international work. Yes, I think we're having issues with the slides, or are we good? Perfect. Okay. Either one is fine.
All right, everyone. Welcome, and thanks for having me here to this very important scoping workshop. And thanks for the National Academy for hosting it. This is my pleasure. It's very glad that Professor Simangan talked here before me, because that means I don't need to repeat things, but can cut time and emphasize a few other issues. And the idea of my talk is to really give you an idea about what, in my perspective, we know about environmental peace building, what we don't know, and what would be worth further research. And that's obviously drawing a bit on the work of myself, but also of other leading scholars, including Dahlia Simangan and the team in Hiroshima, of course. And as you can see, I also hold a cross appointment at Hiroshima University. So I can confirm it's a very active group and very good to work with. All right, so yeah, what is environmental peace building? So this is the more or less standard definition that we put forward 2 years ago with a group of leading scholars and practitioners. So environmental peace building comprises the approaches and pathways by which the management of environmental issues are integrated in and can support conflict prevention, mitigation, resolution, and recovery. So in short, environmental peace building tries to bring environmental protection into peace building efforts, and it tries to bring peace building and conflict sensitivity into environmental management and protection. That can work on very different levels and work on very different topics. And it can include everything from managing natural resources like water or land in a way to avoid conflicts between the local people. It can mean that after a civil war, we rebuild the country in a way that is environmentally sensitive and provides livelihoods to the people who lost a lot in the war. But it can also mean international cooperation between countries on environmental issues, but also to reconcile themselves. This is a picture I took 5 years ago when I was working in Israel and Palestine, and that's Israeli and Palestinian and Jordanian troops working together on cross-boundary water issues as a tool of bringing them together and have like cross-boundary water resources. That's something that all sides see the value in protecting and working together. And that's a way to build a bridge between these, as you all know from the news, politically very divided societies. What do we know about environmental peace building? Very briefly, it's hard to summarize a whole knowledge field in 2 minutes, but we know that environmental cooperation can catalyze peace building between states. It's usually not the starting point. It's usually not that two countries are very hostile to each other, and then they say, oh, there's a shared water resource, or there's this shared threat of climate change, we work together. But if there is a will on the side of politicians from both sides to work with each other, then the environment is an easy entry point. Because it's usually low politics. You can usually work together quite quickly. There's benefits to both sides and you can sell it. For instance, when El Salvador and Honduras were initiating their peace process in the 1980s, the vice presidents of both countries decided to pick cross-boundary water and conservation as the starting point, because that was an easy entry point to make quick progress, to show the benefits of working together. We know that providing sustainable livelihoods is crucial to recover from violent conflict. If you think about civil wars in countries like Sri Lanka, Indonesia, the Philippines, Liberia, Sierra Leone, after the end of such civil wars, you usually have a large number of people, often male, but also some females, who fought in the war. Also recently Nepal and Colombia, for instance. And these people, they need to have a livelihood, because usually there's warlords left, there's some rebel fractions left, even after the peace agreement, there's criminal gangs left. And they are very keen to recruit people who have experience in fighting. So these people not necessarily have a big interest in fighting, because it's always dangerous. But if you cannot offer them a secure livelihood and they can't find any other way to earn money, they might do that. And we know that projects that offer former combatants some plot of land, some agricultural training, some seeds, then help them to manage them in a sustainable way so that the land and water resources is not depleted within a few years, really helps to keep them away from armed groups and gangs. And we know that natural resource management and disaster risk reduction can reduce community tension. After big disasters, there's usually intense competition local resources. When there's a drought, for instance, we see people fighting for water resources. When there's population growth and soil degradation, we see people competing for scarce land. If we find ways to manage the resources sustainable, to provide water for all of the communities, for all of the people in a sustainable way, that means we can also reduce the community tension. And especially in countries like Nigeria or Mali in Africa, we know that a lot of the conflicts that started as local disputes over land and water between farmers and herders later fed into insurgencies, for instance, by the Fulani or Boko Haram insurgents. So there is a link between communal tension probably scaling up. Finally, we also know that environmental peace building has a dark side. Environmental peace building can have adverse side effects. For instance, when two countries agree on sharing hydropower, building a large dam, then local communities are displaced. That could lead to involuntary displacement, human rights violation, local protests. We also know that in Central Asia, for instance, Countries build positive relations about managing the transboundary rivers, but that led basically to an uncontrolled or a controlled agreed overexploitation of the water and the collapse of the Aral Sea ecosystem. So environmental peace building might sometimes work to build peace on one level or to preserve the environment on one level, but can have negative effects on another. And there's already uncertainties within that. So for instance, okay, we know environmental cooperation catalyzes peace building. But what's the important thing? Is it the symbolic value of cooperating? Is it because we get people together and we build trust? The specific pathways require more attention. Also, the dark side, we know the dark side exists, but we don't have comprehensive guidelines how practitioners can avoid them in specific projects. So there's already some knowledge gaps within here. However, I would like to briefly outline 3 frontiers or 3 big knowledge gaps I see in the field. And the first one is a geographic one. This is a study I published early this year about which countries are covered by the environmental peacebuilding literature. And you see, environmental peacebuilding is good in spreading out across all different world regions, but apart from Colombia, there's very little on Latin America. There's nothing on the Pacific, very little on Southeast Asia, and everything we have on South Asia or this part of Southeast Asia is usually transboundary water cooperation between India and its neighbors. Even so, we have internal conflicts in countries like Bangladesh, India, Nepal is recovering from a civil war. We have insurgencies in the Philippines. There's very little on environmental peacebuilding within these states, on the civil wars, the communal conflicts, and the sustainability dimensions of peace building. So that's clearly a gap. We also know very little about environmental peace building in urban areas. A lot of work is focusing on rural areas, which is usually where you have farming going on, where you have the conservation areas. Second frontier is community-led environmental peace building. A lot of research, and it's a very transboundary research field that works very closely with practitioners from high-level foreign ministries, World Bank, down to very local level NGOs that implement the projects. But we know very little about community-led environmental peace building. That is environmental peace building that is done by the local communities with very little to no involvement by international actors, but which could be supported by NGOs, state actors. 2 examples. This is a cooperation between 2 Kenyan groups who usually fight over or have very tense political relations, fight usually in northern Kenya. But during a drought, the elders come together and broker an agreement where they share water resources and grazing areas, because otherwise they would not be able to survive during the drought. And that could be an entry point for NGOs, for state actors to broker a larger peace process, but we know very little about these projects. And that's the Tarabandu ritual in Timor-Leste, where local people gather together to implement environmental regulations about land, about forest protection, but it's also a way to solve communal tensions. But then again, that is something we know it's working very well at the local level. It probably needs more support from the state, from NGOs, but it has not been. Third one is, and I learned yesterday that there's a lot of work going on here about renewable energy transitions, which is really important in the face of climate change. But climate action also has a peace and conflict component that environmental peace building is very well placed to address, because if you build solar panels, if you build wind power, electric vehicles, you need some minerals. You need lithium, rare earths, cobalt. And where does this come from? I mean, cobalt is largely mined in the Democratic Republic of Congo, funding rebel groups that fight the government over there, and is mined in horrible conditions, often involving severe human rights violations. So the question is, how can we mine and get these materials in a way that promotes peace? Because it promotes revenues, it can help people to get a livelihood, but it can also lead to local conflicts and protests. How do we manage that transition in a peace-enhancing way? Similar, countries like Qatar, if everyone moves to electricity, there was massive decline in oil and gas revenues. How can they manage that transmission peacefully? What about people protesting against local wind farms, about local carbon capture and storage protests? How can we manage these kind of conflicts associated with a renewable energy transition? That's also what I argue is a really big frontier for environmental peace building. So to sum up my talk, environmental peace building is a really driving interdisciplinary research field that has developed in the past 10 years, and that provides unique opportunities because it enables us to address basically all the environment-related SDGs, water, climate action, land, while also keeping SDG 16, peace and strong institutions into account. And we have a community, a strong research community that is already very transdisciplinary oriented in place that is well suited to scale up that research. And I think it would be really good for the Bellman Forum to move into that stage and support it and then catalyze the insights, particularly in the transdisciplinary area.
All right. Thank you so much, Tobias, for giving us that overview of your work, as well as what you see as critical gaps in environmental peace building. For this next section, for those who are joining online, my name is Brian Lung. I'm one of the Bellman Forum secretariats. And today you are here joining us because we're having a conversation on environmental peace building and what are the key issues and gaps. Earlier, just a few moments ago, we heard from Professor Dalia Sigmanan in Hiroshima University, and also we heard from Professor Tobias Ida from Murdoch University. And they explained what are their what they found as key issues and gaps within environmental peace building field. So in this section, what we'd like to do is to encourage people from the audience, as well in both online and in person, to give us some, to ask if you have any questions related to environmental peace building, please type it into the chat or raise your hand and our moderators will pick up that comment. And if I could invite both Dalia and Tobias to come to the stage, that would be great. Meanwhile, can we go to the next slide? I just want to sum up a few key points that I was able to pick up from both Dalia and from Tobias. A couple of the key themes and points were that we would like to, in the environmental peace building field, we would like to achieve methods to promote positive peace, as well as identify methods that cause negative peace to prevent that from happening. Regarding to the food, water, and energy security issues, they are multi-level and they require multi-level community engagement, and this requires transdisciplinary research. The framework for natural resource management and disaster risk reduction to reduce community tension is a useful area of research. And next is in terms of these, and also environmental peace building can include concepts such as managing natural resources to avoid conflict, rebuilding communities after civil war, or environmental cooperation between countries. Next slide. Oh, where is music here? Okay. Key themes and key points. Methods to provide provide sustainable livelihoods to recover from conflict. Methods to provide support cooperation, catalyze peace, building between states, understanding the dichotomy within LMICs, and mitigation of the dark side of environmental peace building guidelines, and also knowledge gaps, geographic knowledge gaps, community-led APP, and climate action as environmental peace issues. Go back to your slides. Get rid of that music. Perfect. All right. All right. And next, are there any questions in the chat? No, there isn't. That's okay. I will start off the questions for both Tobias and for Dalia. If we can pin Dalia to the screen, that way she's also visible. And I might need you to come over here so people can see you. Yeah. All right. So one of the first questions that I have in environmental peace building, and it's up to either one of you to take the question, and I don't mind which one, but I think the main question that I have is, for the methods and the tools that you used for for your research, I hear that there's both qualitative and those quantitative approaches. And I guess the question that I have is, in the qualitative space, can you describe, is this more of a social sciences leaning call, or do you think it's more of a natural sciences based call, or is there a space for natural sciences to come in here as well? Because I'm picking up a lot of social sciences in here.
I can. Yeah, I think I can start with that if you don't mind, Tobias. Okay. For our case studies in Afghanistan, Nepal, and the Philippines, we actually conducted focus group discussions, interviews, and field observations. And because it is in the context of environmental issues, I think it just came naturally that we need to have a conversation with people who are more knowledgeable of resources. In Nepal, for example, during the FGDs, it was imperative for us to include the park rangers, those people who are more familiar with the biodiversity in the protected area where we conducted the FGD with the local communities near those near the protected area. So although the design of doing the FGDs, the interviews, and the field observations are drawn on our expertise in the social science, but in conducting it, in actually implementing those methods, we had to include individuals who are more knowledgeable in the natural sciences, not just in academia, but actual practitioners on the ground.
All right. To me, and I think I'm largely in agreement with Dalia there, I feel this would really benefit from being an inter and then transdisciplinary call, because while environmental peace building as a discipline emerged from the social sciences, I think we need essentially depend on input from the natural sciences and vice versa to do that cooperation. Just two very brief examples. I did a study with colleagues on when drought sparks local water protests in the Middle Eastern region versus when water scarcity and drought were managed naturally. But I mean, we collected qualitative data, but just to identify where was the drought, what was the local hydrological situation, how badly were the communities affected, did the drought happen during the growing season or during peak summer when water was scarce? You need natural science input. There's no way I can do hydrological models or like climate impacts on local water availability as a social scientist. There's also great cooperation going on between environmental peacebuilding scholars and natural scientists. For instance, on Colombia, you see in Colombia, a lot of the natural forests in the remote areas were conserved during the civil war because that's where the rebels were based. And the rebels were not cutting away the forest because, well, that was their hideouts. And the international companies didn't dare going there because rebels were active there. But after the end of the civil war, we see massive amounts for deforestation. So, I mean, the social science can provide a lot of input there in terms of governance, security, but in order to monitor the deforestation and the environmental impacts, we need scientists. We just can't do that.
I love that response. That is really in terms of showing us that, for example, deforestation, you really do need Earth observations, for example, to be able to quantify how much positive or negative impact your work is doing on the environment. The next question that I have is related to these stakeholders on the ground. Because the Belmont Forum brings in both academic and non-academic stakeholders, when you engage in certain countries and you work with the communities, do you also work with universities, or is it mostly nonprofits, or is there who's the point person that you work with in, let's, for example, I remember in Dalia, you work in Afghanistan, for example. Like, can you explain a little bit about who are those stakeholders on the ground to provide a little more context so that we know who you're targeting or working with?
Yeah, thanks, Brian, for that question. It's challenging to do field work in some areas, and we faced those challenges in Afghanistan. But we wouldn't be able to actually collect the data without the support of our local collaborator, and those local collaborators, and those collaborators come from an NGO in Afghanistan. And similarly, in the Philippines and in Nepal, we partnered with NGOs, not just at the national level, but because we are looking at the community dynamics. So our partnership is very much tiered. So there's national NGO, and also if they have branches in the communities that we're looking at, we had to partner with them. Additionally, to our NGOs as partners, we also had to communicate with subnational government units, community elders in Nepal and the Philippines, for example, and some of the organization that's led by the communities themselves, and they somehow have the legitimacy, especially in Afghanistan, to welcome projects like this and to actually contribute to projects like this. And it's very collaborative, not just between academics and universities, although of course we have partners from, we have research collaborators from universities, but a crucial component of our fieldwork will be partnership with NGOs and subnational governments.
Yeah, I second that for my field work, mostly in the Middle East, in order to not just gain in-depth insights, but also feedback your insights into the local circle, that hopefully what your research is not just a nice paper that few people read, but also has an impact on the ground. You need to partner with local communities, with local universities. And then in the best case, if there is interest and openness, not the case in all countries, with more like the national level government authorities, and in the best case, international funders.
Hello. Thanks. That's really helpful and insightful in describing who you work with on the ground. I guess the next question that I have for both of you actually is, I guess when I think of working in these regions, there's a lot of security risks for you as for the two of you and for your research teams. I guess the question that I have next is, what are the challenges other than in the field that you work in? And do you think they can be solved with the engagement from the Belmont Forum and the community and the global research support? Of research support, I mean the organizations that the Belmont Forum can bring into it.
I guess I'll let Tobias take the lead on this, and then I'll just add something.
All right. So, I mean, personally, I can say I don't do crazy things. I mean, first of all, because if you have a family at home, you don't do crazy things, but there's also an institutional logic. Universities and funding agencies don't want their researchers to get killed or harmed in the field. So there's usually very good oversight and tight oversight. So there's several ways. I mean, personally, I manage, so I never go to active conflict zones. I usually go to either the regions next to the active conflict zones and then talk with the people there, or like the people want to talk to, so to meet there, or you go into post-conflict countries where you basically work after a peace agreement. Then by partnering with local researchers and NGOs, usually they have a very solid knowledge about what is safe to do, what is safe to ask, because it's also informant security. For instance, it's easier if you want to talk to former rebels about their take on environmental issues, about their reintegration concerns. It's much easier if you talk with officially demilitarized combatants, because that means the government knows about them, the police knows about them. You don't put them in danger as a researcher by talking to them. I mean, technically, if I do it and then the government confiscates my laptop and identifies them as former rebels and they are not officially demobilized, that could be a risk for them. So it's not just about our risks, it's also about the risks of the local partners we manage. But as I said, that's something that's already very carefully managed by, not just by myself and I guess ourselves, but also by universities and funders. And there are established ways to work around this.
Yeah, thanks, Tobias. I also echo that very good oversight by our universities, and also the need to have the same sense of security for our local partners. It's challenging, but those challenges, we would not overcome those challenges without a partnership with the NGOs and the local government units. And I think that's where the support of Belmont Forum can come in, because we really need to partner with local governments in different countries, in different security contexts. And that support would definitely benefit us, not just in making sure that we collect the right data, but at the same time expanding our projects temporarily and spatially.
I think that's really helpful. I appreciate you running through, especially partnering with local governments and help making you pay, in a sense, paving the way for you to do the work that you could do. I guess, and in terms of NGOs and IGOs, are there any ones that you work with a lot in the community? And the reason why I'm asking this question is I think that in the Belmont Forum space, we'd like to bring in as many people as possible, as many organizations as possible to support researchers. And if there are organizations that you think, for example, let's say the Red Cross, right? Or UNDP, for example, like, are these organizations that you see as value added to your research? Or not, or can you provide a list of some of them that you would like to think of it as a wish list, so it helps us understand who we should be talking to and really engage and bring into this conversation.
For our projects so far, we haven't had strong partnership with IOs, although we want to, because in disseminating our research results, we need the capacity that IOs already have in not just disseminating the results, but also implementing projects that are informed by these results, implementing community development projects that are informed by our science or by our results. UNEP could be a very good partner. Tobias might agree with me also. UNDP, that's right, Asia Foundation, a strong presence especially in Nepal, and they do, I guess they have projects related to what we're doing. And I think for IOs, it's really about how I see it is to partner with them in terms of disseminating our results and funding community projects that are informed by our research.
All right. So for IOs, yes, UNEP and UNDP are sort of your natural partners. The World Bank has recently starting to do a lot of work on both conflict-sensitive disaster risk reduction and conflict implications of climate action. So there could also be quite a bit of interest from their side. When it comes to NGOs, I feel a lot of the NGOs are doing work specifically on one topic or in one region. For instance, if you work on the Middle East, Friends of the Earth Middle East and the Arava Institute are both big players, both in terms of work on the ground and academically. But I mean, they are confined to the region. So with NGOs, usually they don't have the capacity to work on all of the topics or all of the region. That really depends on the project design and the scope of the call.
Appreciate that. Thank you for the your wish list. And online, are there any questions on the online audience as of now? Nope. Okay. I will ask for a couple more while we're at it. While we're in the conversation of or bringing on partners, the Belmont Forum has high-income countries and then low-income countries as part of who they can fund, right? And I guess the question that I have is this CRA possible if the members who can fund low-income countries do not participate? Does that make sense? If in other words, what I'm trying to ask is, if the funders who come in can only support high-income countries, then would this CRA work? Can you still do your work?
May I start, or do you want to start? Okay, I would say, I mean, in the best case, we have obviously the low-income countries on board. It's more inclusive. It also has more agenda shaping power for them. I feel it could work with the high income, if the high income countries only fund, but that would depend on the opportunity or the possibility to channel some of the fundings to the local NGOs, researchers you're working with, because I'm not a big fan of saying, I'm going there, I want your advice, your networks, your interview partners, but I'm not paying you anything or giving you anything back. I mean, you always give something back in terms of knowledge and publication opportunities, but you still expect them to work for free in the first place. And I don't think that's a sustainable partnership. So in the best case, they get some funding from their own agencies. But I mean, if there's like funding from the high income countries, but you can like pay local partners for the work they are doing, I feel that would be feasible. If it's solely within like, then I mean, it would be more limited if we can't channel any money to low income countries, because usually local partners, especially if you want to do it transdisciplinary and have local impact, it's really good to have local partners on board because they can drive change in the communities.
Appreciate that. That's a really good response. And I assume that you're shaking your head in complete agreement here. Perfect. All right. Are there any other questions from the audience in terms of here? Yeah, perfect.
Well, my question may be more related to the afternoon session about scoping, but because I cannot be here in the afternoon, so I just gonna ask. Well, the Professor Idol has a slide talking about the knowledge gap and show the geography imbalance, and most of the case study are more in like Israel, Palestine, Colombia, and Nepal, but there's no study in the Asia Pacific area. So in thinking about it, because my field is about foreign aid and development, and in the past several years, there's a term called indigenous diplomacy, particularly in Australia, in Taiwan. They are actually comes from the art and humanity field, talking about the natural linkage of the Austronesian group in Taiwan, Australia, the oceanic island, and they pay attention of the linking all these tribes together and have some cultural exchange or interaction. But to make this related to the environmental peace building is about one of the key concepts behind the indigenous diplomacy is talking about the indigenous tribes are underrepresented in the international arena. So for example, whether the US, Australia, Taiwan, Japan, those nations are led by like white people or Han people, but the indigenous people has a distinct problem, and that's different from the majority. So, and particularly like the Professor Idol mentioned about the energy transition now in Australia, in Taiwan, most of the solar panel and wind energy make way in the indigenous area. So that becomes like a key just transition problem. So I'm thinking about, is that any kind of the related question or related research direction of the environmental peace building that can particularly contribute from the Asia Pacific area? And I have this question is because we have a long decades research tradition of the development-induced displacement for many infrastructure in Bangladesh or Nepal or Philippines. So many research have done this, but we have new wave of this kind of induced displacement of green energy, and that can lead to a lot of peace problems. So how can we linkage these terms together, and maybe as part of the EPP future topic, is that possible or not, or whether the future research direction can be developed here? And I want to hear the opinion from both of you. Thank you.
Just a quick clarification. When you mean induced displacement, you mean migration caused by climate change, or do you mean?
Induced, like making a huge dam that we will displace a lot of community in Bangladesh or in the Mekong River, like this.
Thanks.
Yes, thanks a lot. That's a very good question. And short answer, yes, that's the opportunity. So we know that, I mean, I have to admit, indigeneity or indigenous perspectives have been a bit underrepresented in environmental peacebuilding research, as they have been in most other academic fields, which is also has to do with the broader marginalization of indigenous peoples from the knowledge systems in many areas of the world. But we know that, for instance, in Nepal, indigenous communities often suffer from large-scale dam project, or in Bhutan, really, where there's like large hydro energy plants, which are then used to export hydro energy, form international cooperation on clean energy, but often. We also know that in some areas in Latin America where large conservation projects were established either to preserve forests for climate action or for biodiversity, often meant that indigenous communities who were for centuries the stewardships of these local ecosystems and manage them in a sustainable way were completely excluded from them. So there is not everywhere, but in many of the cases where environmental peace building or environmental projects have adverse side impacts. And that also applies to some areas where renewable energies are or minerals for renewable energies are mined. We have already marginalized indigenous communities who suffer even more from these projects. And that's certainly an important dimension to keep in the back of your mind, and something that could be very well integrated, especially into the positive peace frameworks that Dalia introduced earlier.
If I may just add very briefly, and I think that's where the value of focusing on community level environmental peace building, because that will open up, other opportunities to engage with indigenous communities. And I think sometimes we talk about the same issues, but we're using different language. I think it's somehow similar with environmental peace building if it's a truly interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary framework. So these perspectives naturally will come in. I also just want to mention, Brian, I have to run to my class in 5 minutes, so I might not be able to stay until the end of the Q&A. But thank you for the amazing question.
Questions in the audience?
Especially for Dalia, because
I know. You're running out soon. Well, I'll ask one more quick one. Now that was Ethan brought up in terms of how migration and induced displacement can affect, have a role. Does displacement have a role in environmental peace building? That led me to think of what about health and the concept of health issues, or even not just looking at human health, but also looking at environmental health, but more leaning on human. How does that play a role in environmental peace building?
Dalia, you want to start?
Right. Yeah, thanks. That's a very, very important question as well. It plays a huge role. And by intersecting the positive peace pillars that we use in our framework and environmental performance index, which includes both ecosystem vitality and environmental health, we're able to actually see the intersections of these different dimensions. And they all, again, manifest differently depending on which pillar or component that we're looking at, but definitely plays a role in environmental peace building.
Yes, I definitely agree with that, especially as the sustainable and solid management of natural resources and think about water, air pollution, water quality, water availability can have tremendous health impacts, both for ecosystems, but especially also for humans. And I mean, I see Erica's in the chat. I'm not sure whether she's still there, but Erica Weinthal did some amazing work on how the wars in the Middle East, Yemen, Syria, Israel, Palestine, massively destroyed environmental infrastructure, water, electricity. And I mean, obviously, without water, without electricity, you also can't run hospitals, you can't run clinics, you can't have clean water for the people to drink. So you need to find a way to both protect and manage environmental infrastructure within wars, but even more importantly, because there you have more impact, you need solid strategies to reconstruct and rebuild that infrastructure quickly, but also sustainably, not over extracting all the groundwater after wars, because otherwise you have massive impacts on human security else. And that's again opens up pretty good opportunities for transdisciplinary cooperation, because who knows about water governance, water conflicts, post-conflict peace building, that's the social science side. But who knows about the hydrology of the local area, the vulnerability of ecosystems, the potential for renewable energies? You can't know that without the life sciences, the engineers, the natural scientists.
Thank you, Tobias. And thank you, Dahlia, for joining us in this Q&A. So you can run to your class. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Round of applause for these two lovely speakers. So in short, from this, our morning session, we learned a lot about environmental peace building, some of the key issues that are in the field, as well as some of the key resources that are needed. For example, more diverse funding opportunities for high and low, to bring on more partners across the IGs and the NGOs, as well as how transdisciplinary this topic is, not only talking about migration and induced displacement, but as well as health has a role in environmental peace building. I think with that, we'll mention to the people online as well as the people in the room that we will be going on a quick lunch break or a health break, wherever you are in the world, and we'll return back at 1300 hours in Taipei time. And we will begin the breakout rooms then. And from there, what will happen is we will dive into 3 specific questions around environmental peace building. So we can learn from you who are participating online as well as in the audience, what are the key issues, and dive a little deeper. And with that, if there's no other questions, we will see you in about an hour and a half. Thank you all.
Hola. We will have a launch box next year in our center. And we also have a poster, like we have an open house last week. So we have a lot of poster. You can have a look in our center, and also
yeah. All right, thank you. Welcome back to the environmental peace building session. We are going to begin with the breakouts in a few moments, but just to recap a few main points from this morning session, we had 2 speakers from Professor Tobias and Delia from Hiroshima University, who talked about the key themes and issues and gaps in environmental peace building. Not only that, they also mentioned a couple frameworks that were needed for funding community to start thinking about in terms of where we should fund, how we should fund, and some other stakeholders we should be engaging, which is really, really helpful. But now we're going to turn to more of the breakout rooms, understand what are the key questions that we need to address for this whole CRA. And if you're just joining us online, my name is Brian Lung. I'm the Belmont Forum Secretariat and part of the U.S. National Science Foundation. And you're here today because we're talking about the environmental peace building call. And we're going to go into a session just to understand what are the key issues and things that we need to address as both a funding community as well as a research community to make this call successful. Later on, we'll have a Slido in the upcoming slide, but these are the questions that we want to address in this next hour. For the first one is, what are the critical questions or gaps in knowledge that need to be addressed to develop and execute effective environmental peace building strategies? The second question is, what networks are needed to develop the requirements or challenges of working in this space? The third is, what is the best mechanism to put in place to reach the goals of the transdisciplinary research for EPB? These are the 3 questions. We'll go through each of them one by one. But in the next slide, hit the next slide. This is the QR code. So we would like everyone to use their phones to scan this QR code. This will bring you to the Slido. All right, as you scan, whether you're online or in person, scan this QR code and you will be able to get to where we're going to have our, what do you call it? The idea board. where we can generate ideas. Right now, it's pretty empty. You won't see any polls, but right now I'm launching the first poll, and you'll be able to see on your screen what are the critical questions or gaps in knowledge that is needed to be addressed to develop and execute effective peace building strategies. I'll give everyone a few moments just to think about what are the key themes that need to be, that we need to include as a, within this call. If you're online, the best way I would recommend to get into Slido is type in slido.com and then use that code 1994465, and that will bring you to the same web page. And here, what we're looking for is people's ideas. Just place them onto this idea board, and they will populate as people type. Try to have one idea per line or per entry, and you can put as many entries as you'd like. And that way we'll get a waterfall of key themes. And from these themes, from our perspective, what we're going to do is be able to group and cluster similar themes together and go that way. This is great. Understanding how climate change affects resource availability and conflict dynamics is crucial for long-term strategies. Wonderful. Climate action and peace environmental building in growing urban areas. I like this. I like the dichotomy between the first one and the second one. This is really helpful for us. But the one key theme that I see among these first two is climate change and resource availability. Great, 2 more participants typing. Great. Cooperative natural resource management. This sounds very relevant in this region. And while you're typing, I'm going to give a little bit more of a background for why we're using this section. When we launched the call and the call text, we like to have ideas and themes where we'd like researchers to address either one theme, 2 themes, or as many themes as possible. And if we see one, let's say, for example, dealing with strategies for cooperative natural resource management, another one could be on early warning, another one could be on, let's say, how to deal with conflict dynamics. That would be those could be the themes, for example. But the more we have, the better it is for us to understand what are the key gaps, and these themes are literally going to be, or should be, the gaps that are in this field. Think of this as your researcher wish list. Or think of it as, what are your friends doing that you also wanted them to be a part of this, be part of this call? And if you're just joining us online, what we're doing right now is we are having an idea generation session. On the way that we're having people populate this list is on slido.com. If you're online, type in 1994465. Alternatively, you can just scan that QR code with your phone and type it in your answers. We are looking for as many ideas as possible, as many themes as possible. Again, this is like a wish list of ideas, topics that you would like us as the Belmont Forum community to add as in the call to add in within the call text. So strategies that ensure that local communities are actively involved in environmental peace building initiatives. This is great. Strategies to avoid adverse environmental impacts of peace building and make environmental protections conflict sensitive. Valuing and incorporating traditional ecological knowledge held by Indigenous communities in environmental management and peace building efforts. There's a lot of good topics here. While we're on this, if there's anyone online that would like to share some of their posts, please raise your hand and we will have our tech flag them and raise them. We would love to hear from you. Or the people in the audience that would like to talk about a couple of these points, that would be great. And for us, as we look at this, we would be looking at this as a number, however, let me put it this way, to encourage you all to speak up. We are using this as a way to generate, and I get a sense of what are the most key pressing issues within the research community. So in other words, the more that we see a certain theme, the more that we know this is an important topic. However, if you would like to speak up and let us know, that flags it for us that this is a key pressing issue. So we would like you to encourage you, if you can, speak up. So taking that opportunity, does anyone online or anyone in person in this audience would like to say something on a couple of these topics? Keynote speakers are also welcome to say something if you'd like to. Climate change adaptation in conflict contexts, strategies to ensure cross-cultural knowledge. Okay. Love it.
I mean, just, okay. I mean, I won't comment because I already make a lot of suggestions this morning and I typed in a few of suggestions which mirror those of this morning here. But I mean, seeing that there are other people typing, it's really interesting to see that the two of the, I mean, peace building and environment might be top keywords because that's the topic, but it's interesting to see that strategies and communities have so many hits, which I feel like strategies really indicates there is an appetite and capacity for transdisciplinary research in the case that it's not just fundamental research that results in papers, but it actually has an impact or can help to develop strategies. I think that that's really encouraging for the Belmont Forum. And then communities, I mean, I already wrote to Horst this morning about community-led environmental peace building and how we need to focus more on the role and the impact and the agency and the capacities of local communities. But it's also really encouraging to see it shows up so strongly in the responses so far.
I agree with you. I'm really glad that you made that observation. I didn't realize, I mean, I knew that these were keywords, but when you pointed out that strategies and communities were the key points, it really makes me think that we're really looking for some type of framework or guidance on how to interact and approach these communities. Is that along the right lines of where we should be approaching? Yep, okay. I'm just trying to think of ways to frame this in the context of, let's say, in the call text, we're looking for a framework to blank, a framework or strategies on addressing blank, right? promoting sustainable practices that align with indigenous values and traditions, which often prioritizes long-term ecological balance, strategies capable of adapting to climate change that might impact peace building efforts. Okay.
Yeah, and it's really good to see now climate change having 3, because I mean, that obviously feels climate change is like the macro level, far reaching ecological change going on our times and basically impacting the environment in all places on the earth. So I think it's really good to see climate change being like a cross-cutting issue and coming up so often, because, well, I think any strategy of environmental peace building needs to have climate change, at least as a backstory. And just saying about like the frameworks you just mentioned, Brian, I think that's also really a good opportunity to bring together more academic and more practitioners communities, because to design good intervention strategies to measure outcome, you need to have a good understanding of the causal pathways. So how does environmental peace building work, which is a very academic question, but obviously in order the insights you could gain from those would translate into insights for how to evaluate it, how to monitor it, how to initiate it.
Yeah, especially the monitoring and making sure that what you're doing strategy-wise really does work. Yeah, if you're just joining us today, we're having a session where we're trying to generate ideas and generate ideas to understand what are the key questions or gaps in knowledge in this field. And the way that people are populating this slide deck or this page is by taking their phones and scanning that QR code, where you can be part of this conversation. And for us, this helps us keep a record of the key points and thematic topics that we're going to use to help shape the call. Next, I'm going to move on to the next question, and your phones will also immediately change, and the screen will also immediately change. There you go. You will start to see what networks are needed to develop the requirements or challenges of working in this space. So in a sense, what I mean by this is who are the people or the organizations that we should be reaching out to provide services and support for this call. And the reason why we're talking about networks here is because in this transdisciplinary space, we need to be able to engage all parties, not just the academic sector, not just the stakeholders and community sectors, but also civil society. Who in the civil society should we also be thinking about including into this conversation? What are the IGs in international governments that we should also be engaging in this conversation? What are the pathways and avenues where our researchers from this call should be linking to make a policy impact? I know normally this is not like a common theme or a topic in academia because we normally work in our academic circles, but again, we're doing transdisciplinary research. We're trying to break those barriers and those community bounds. So as I will keep quiet and let you guys think and type. And for those online, just as a thought to help this idea generation section, what networks are needed to develop the requirements or develop the requirements or address the challenges in working in this space. Think of it as like, who would you want to work with, and what are the barriers that you would like to see broken down to make it easier for you to do your work. Capable university and research experts to build strong links to academic knowledge. And I'm assuming this is to other areas beyond just environmental peace building, but to more of the academic sectors, such as just political science, I presume, and conflict resolution, psychology, human behavior. I assume that's what it means. However, I'm not entirely sure what parts of academic knowledge.
That on? Yeah. I mean, repeating myself from this morning probably, but I think academic knowledge should be both social science, political science, conflict studies. But I mean, to really dig into environmental peace building, we would also need strong input from the life sciences, the natural sciences. So let's say I would personally interpret that suggestion as academic knowledge across different disciplines.
Noted. Local indigenous communities, social enterprises that work with local communities. And I assume there's going to be a lot of training involved to work to train researchers and the research community how to work with indigenous communities. Partnering with relevant governmental agencies at local, national, and regional levels to align policies, regulation, and resource management practices with peace building goals. Local NGOs and civil society organizations in relevant countries. This is great. NGOs who have experiences in the field where the peace building is needed. That's going to be a very good one. There's going to be a lot of social media and communications that go out beforehand, where we really need to reach out to the NGOs to make sure where this proposal is going to touch and what researchers were going to be funded, which countries the researchers are going to be supported by in terms of funding. We really need to reach out to those NGOs ahead of time to make sure that they are aware. It's a very, very valid point. Corporate communication department in multinational enterprises. This network may initiate many strategies and actually work with local society. I need help with this one.
I think it mirrors pretty much the emphasis we had on community with the last question, that there's a lot of local NGOs, local indigenous communities, local society. So there really seems to be a taste to, I mean, perhaps as a background for those not from international relations or conflict studies, there have been these huge debate in peace building research in the late 1990s, early 2000s, where a lot of people had the idea that we need this one model of democracy, market capitalism, human rights that we can just export to all post-conflict countries all around the world, and it would work in building peace there. And it terribly backfired, because what works in Denmark or Canada doesn't necessarily work in Sierra Leone or Nepal, because the community countries are just very, very different culturally, historically, political systems, and so on. So there has been this large backlash and focusing more on local peace building and the role of local communities in driving change and building peace that is more sensible to their own context. And I feel a lot of the focus on community and local organizations is echoed in this space.
Where I'm hung up on in this one is the corporate communication departments. What would they, what I'm trying to understand where the role of the private sector is in here. I mean, I think they should be involved, but I don't know exactly how. And is this what corporate communication means? Because the way that I understand in corporate communication department is or the way that I think this is leaning towards is in terms of the carbon tax credits. I don't know whether or not that makes sense here, or is carbon tax credits a form of peace building negotiations?
I'm not. I mean, yeah. I mean, two examples I can think is yeah, carbon credit projects that basically support local communities and build peace there. But I mean, they can also be very contentious in the case of that they lock people out of certain areas of land. And the other thing is probably, I mean, corporations usually play a huge role in buying large tracts of land to cultivate cash crops, or to engage in mining of minerals that are important for renewable energies and so on. So I know corporations have been tried to involve or try to frame some of their work in like Guinea, where they mine bauxite as a peace building strategy, because they provide revenues and safe working conditions to local communities. I know it has been contested, but I mean, they certainly play a role in those spaces.
Very good point. That's a very good point. I did not even think about it that way. Now that you mentioned.
But I'm not sure whether it would then be the corporate communication departments, because I mean, if you only get communication involved, there's always the risk of greenwashing or peace washing. I would rather get the more substantial parts of the corporations involved that actually decide on the operations on the ground, because I mean, communication will mostly frame it as being good for green or being good for peace. But I mean, the communication that decide on how to deal with the local people, who to employ, how to certify the minerals they extract, how to govern the land that they acquire, that make sure that prior consent is received from the communities where they have their projects. I feel that's where you make or break the deal. Personal opinion. Whoever wrote that can obviously elaborate in the poll. I'm very happy to learn more.
Yeah, this is something that will be really interesting to hear, mainly because I think as we move forward in this transdisciplinary space, we can't just focus on mainly the civil society and the academic sector, but also leaning on the help of the private sector. And this corporate side, I think, is really interesting, because I think it allows us the avenue to maybe bridge that gap. If anyone did write that, we'd love to hear or add on more detail. Nope, or just comment more as anonymous. We'd love to hear more.
Anonymous is the most prolific writer in that.
Exactly. There you go. All right, we're going to move on to the next one. Anonymous, you can let us know later. Oh, all right. All right, for this last one, what's the best mechanism to put in place to reach the goals of the goals of TDR for EPB? What I mean by that here is what systems, in other words, when we launch the call, the Belmont Forum has several mechanisms. Could be a small window of where we have like 90 days for researchers to come together and then write a proposal, submit it, and then it will be reviewed. Other mechanisms that we have in the Belmont Forum could be 6 months, and maybe a small proposal or a small grant, networking grant that leads to a small amount of money for a project to begin. Another mechanism could be a very long proposal for maybe 12 months and a very large bucket of money at the end for many teams. So I guess what I'm trying to say is what is the best type of, if this space isn't, if you want to bridge out to natural scientists, for example, where there needs to be a lot more lead time to build that community, to build those networks, which implies a longer duration before the submission of the project, of the proposal to the Belmont Forum. So if that's the case, we need more skills building workshops, networking workshops. And for us, this question is really trying to address what should we be doing for ahead of time to make sure that we as a funding community are able to help you as a research community. I can talk a little bit about another funding call that we have at the Belmont Forum. It's the climate, environment, and health ones. So a couple of mechanisms that we put into place for the environment, for the climate, environment, and health was that there was a strong need to have more training on what is climate and health research in low and middle income countries. And the ask was, is that in those countries, it would be great to have a skills building workshop in the region to allow researchers from multiple disciplines in the health sector and the climate sector to come together to work on a shared common goal or issue. And it allowed for one, networking, two, allowed for skills building, and three, gave them a place for a common language so that they could understand the same topic in the same way and then ask the same questions, mainly because everyone works in different silos and they don't really get to communicate. And even though there's the same term or an idea or that concept that they both understand, the way they approach it would be different. And that would lead to miscommunication a lot of the times. So having that workshop allowed people to get to know each other better, and as well as to start those relationships faster. We've also another barrier that we've also had was that in many countries around the world, if someone from Latin America and the Caribbean wants to work with someone in Asia, a lot of the times the barrier would be a language issue. So the question was, we needed to have more multilingual sessions. Another call that we have that's coming up is the Amazon and tropical forests. For them, one of the issues was if in the tropical forest region, particularly in the Amazon, the primary language there is Portuguese and Spanish. And so if they wanted to engage more indigenous people, they thought of that one of the key things that they should do is to open the call so it's not just in English, but also in Spanish and Portuguese, making it a multilingual transdisciplinary call. The question is, is this also is multilingualism necessary for a EPB call? The research was quite inter and transdisciplinary, so quicker turnaround times would work. Involve relevant stakeholders, policymakers, and industrial representatives. A mechanism to identify key problems which happens to affect the peace building with the environment. Be open to larger grants, working internationally across silos, gathering new Earth system data, doing field work, and etc. It can be resource intensive. I like this one. I'm trying to figure out how to work this one in. Be open to larger grants, working internationally across silos, gathering new Earth systems data, doing field work can be resource intensive, which makes me think we definitely need to pull in more of the non-traditional partners into this space. In particular, those who do remote sensing. include more stakeholders that are affected by the key issues. I know we had someone typing earlier, so I want to make sure that we include the last person who's typing. Oh, this one conflicts with the previous one. Keep corporations and think tank industries out to avoid superficial solutions that only look good on paper. I think this is what we kind of talked about last time, about the communications department and the greenwashing and the peace washing aspect. Structure the topics to include Earth system sciences.
Yeah, larger grants are always good for projects. But I mean, then if you have fewer grants, it makes them more competitive. But I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, if you want to bring in like local communities, probably some of the industry, probably some government stakeholders, and then different academic disciplines, and do new research and make sure it have an impact, obviously, grants can't be very small. I mean, sometimes you can have small grants and just have researcher A here, researcher B there, and then they just, based on their expertise, they write a paper together and they don't need much. But for these transdisciplinary projects, yeah, I mean, having the grants, yeah, I mean, perhaps some people have good idea for small grants, but you might need some larger ones as well, even at the risk of having fewer grants to give out. And yeah, again, I mean, it seems there's a lot of include more stakeholders, identify key problems. So again, I mean, there's like, I feel there's really like probably like the same one or two people making the case for community. And I mean, I would definitely put my hand up. I mean, I put community-led environmental peace building as one of the research frontiers in my presentation. I think it's still, I mean, it still echoes, not all of those are from me. So I still think it's still at least one more person thinks that that's an important thing. And I can imagine there's more people who would appreciate this being inclusive, think about local communities, governments, potentially the industry. And that's also good because from what I know, the Bellman Forum does this transdisciplinary style, while usually other funders are more reluctant to move beyond the academic space and bring in that transdisciplinary area. So that could be really good. It's a really good opportunity in my point of view.
Yeah, I agree with you. I also remember seeing that pulling in government. I definitely do see that role there. I'm looking into pull in more of those aid development agencies, Agency for International Development, wherever that may be in the world. And they have reaches in multiple communities around the world. And they also have missions in their internal regional budgets to be able to help with the implementation of certain projects and goals and all that. Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, I wrote the top one, structure the topics, and I think that resonates the conversation that we had over lunch, Brian, that I mean, environmental peace building is very attractive to environmental governance and peace building conflict scholars. But I mean, it's good to structure the topics or the call of a way that directly also appeals to or speaks to some people in Earth observation, hydrological modeling, and that makes clear that it's not just interdisciplinary, but it also means we want active engagement from people in the Earth sciences, and that we value their expertise and would look favorable at the projects, because that would provide, I mean, as I said, there are like a few big schools, big universities in geosciences that have the human geographers, and then the more natural science expertise that can easily bring that together. But there's also very good social and natural scientists out there that are not connected in that natural way, and encouraging them via the grant process to work together certainly would be very promising in my point of view.
Yeah, I agree with you. It goes beyond. I can also see this going into not just like, for example, deforestation and measuring the amount of, let's say, loss of forests, and that as being a marker for peace in a region, but also looking at health too, those who are affected by air quality.
I mean, that's the other is, do you only bring earth system sciences, or do you also bring in some of the medical sciences, especially if you want to bring health in?
Mm-hmm. And I see that as another theme too, as well, especially when it comes down to the intersection between peace and health. Because I know that there were some aspects of it that was touched, especially when you think of water security, water quality, those issues touch on health.
Yeah, there's a typo, but I think the point.
The point gets across, no worries. This is very helpful. I'm starting to see a theme and a line for this call in terms of where we should be, we as the fund research community should be structuring this call so that it does address beyond just the typical academic environmental peace building field, but also bridges into earth systems. It also bridges into the medical sciences, also thinking about the local stakeholder engagement as well as the governmental and intergovernmental stakeholder engagement and pulling them into the conversation. I'm also thinking of working with local communities and indigenous communities. I'm also doing training workshops to make sure that everyone has the same language when it comes to these diverse groups between medical and earth observations and peace building. This seems like a very complicated call, but it sounds very exciting. All right. Are there any other final thoughts or questions that you'd like to, that anyone wants to address or pick up? Are there any online that have questions? Yeah, are there any questions online? No, no chats. No one on the chat. That's okay. Okay, no worries. I'm going to share this one. Yeah, I'm going to share. Yeah, this slide. Okay. So we're at the stage where we have finished our breakout rooms, our discussion. In short, I guess some of the key points that we brought up were more of the strategies and the framework around peace building, touching on areas related to Earth observations, so environmental peace building, reaching into areas of Earth observations, as well as remote sensing, and well as into the medical community, also reaching into the local communities, training for local communities, as well as the research communities, in the transdisciplinary process, making sure that the local governments, national governments, and intergovernmental agencies and organizations are involved in the development and the shaping of the call. And that's what I gather from those three questions, which is really helpful for us. That's what we have so far. And I really appreciate all of you for taking the time to give us your comments, your thoughts and opinions on this environmental peace building scoping that we have, the first one in Asia. I'm going to go to the, let's see, can we have the next slide? I think I have one more slide, right? Yes. Okay. And this next slide is opportunities that are coming up from the Belmont Forum. We have many CRAs that are in the process. Either they are in scoping or they are in the ideation phase. So remember, ideation phase was before it becomes scoping. These are just general ideas, seeing what the appetite is in the community. Scoping is where we really refine the call text to determine the themes and to write the call text. Environmental peace building there is currently in the scoping phase, which means that we are identifying the themes and also identifying the partners who will join the call, as well as beginning to shape the call text. So if you'd like to scan this QR code, it will bring you to our future CRAs or future funding opportunities. There you will see a page where it lists all these different funding calls and events and activities that are listed in the table. Down below at the very bottom of the page, you will see it says email info@belmontforum.org or sign up on our mailing list. I highly recommend you sign up on the mailing list so that you can be aware and be part of those email communications when we have an event come up for any of these. In short, what I can give you a brief synopsis is that Tropical Forest in Amazonia is looking into how to, is issues and themes related to environmental change in the tropical belt. And this is a global call, or we're looking for this to be a global call. We also have environmental peace building, which we just talked about today. Africa regional is specifically focused within the African continent, and we're hoping to have more African countries, with 2 maybe or 3 of them work together, or another country outside of Africa participate. Pathways to Sustainability is more of a SDG, Sustainable Development Goals type of call. Future Leaders is looking into shaping the next generation of early career researchers and early career scientists in whatever field, whether they be science to policy or within the scientific realm or scientific and academia. Driving Urban Transition is looking at the urban green economy. One of the things they will have several calls for the next 7 years. So this is an ongoing funding call related to urban development. And then lastly, vulnerability and resilience management is our version of round 2 of disaster risk and reduction, DR cubed. So round 2. So this is exciting. And one thing I want to mention is these are very broad proposals. They're not specifically broad calls. They're not narrow calls like freshwater security. Freshwater security can go in any of these. So keep in mind that your thematic topic, your research topic can apply into any one of these. Just keep that in mind. And lastly, I put this slide here. If you want to also keep in touch with what we are doing, any other workshops that we have, any other communications, take your phone and scan the QR code here. All of our recordings, all of our workshops are located on our YouTube page. So if you want to scan the YouTube code, you will also be able to see and watch all our videos online and stream it wherever you are around the world. We have a lot from the Science Summit at the UN General Assembly that does talk about, for example, key issues that we talked about here, such as how to work with communities, how to do transdisciplinary research, ways of engagement, and even talk about open science and how to build sustainable partnerships, such as the ones that we talked about in SDG 16, which is peaceful, sustainable, partnerships, as well as SDG 17. I'm rambling on, but there's way more information and tools located on these QR codes. And with that, I think we're going to be able to end early for our general public session, and we're going to turn to our private funder session. However, what I would like to say is that I would thank Academic Seneca, the Center for Sustainability Science, for inviting me to come here to talk to you all and to host and for hosting this session on environmental peace building. So I would like a huge thank you to Charles, Eve, and Professor Chen. I don't know if you want to have any final closing words.
Thank you, Brian. And thank you all for your participation today. And especially Tobias Edith, come a long way to Taipei and back this afternoon. That's a rush trip. Anyway, I'm also a scientist. So what scientists concerned, sometimes kind of with a big offset, founders concern. Founder would like to create a platform for scientists. And so you may not all satisfy with the final code text. During the discussion, any idea, I guess, will be included into the code text. So all scientists who are interested in this code, environmental peace building, I think you are all welcome to join us. If you want to build up your team, you can go through your founder, your national founder, to talk with Spelman Forum, and we try our best to communicate with other founders and make the science all possible in the future. That's our goal. Many thanks again. It's our honor having this scoping workshop in Taipei. And well, I have to say thank you, National Science Technology Council, Taiwan, who is the founder for this project. Thank you very much. Thank you, Brian.
All right, next slide. I think that's it, right? There should be no more. Perfect. All right. And see you all. Bye.